So today we presented a report that we prepared for the Ministry of Planning in Egypt on job creation in Egypt. The report has three principal messages. The first message is good news, which is the re-emergence of the missing middle within the Egyptian economy. What I mean by the missing middle is the small and medium enterprises as opposed to micro enterprises or very large enterprises. And that sector of the economy, the small and medium enterprises, had been growing much more slowly than average. And micro enterprises had about 2/3 of employment in the private sector. And that had been the case for several decades. More recently, we see that the small and medium enterprises are growing at double and triple the average rate of employment growth, indicating there is this re-emergence of that missing middle. And this is good news because these enterprises tend to produce more productive jobs, jobs that are more formal, jobs that attract more educated workers and more women in the labor market. And all this is desirable in the Egyptian labor market. The second big message is a little bit worse in terms of news, and that is the secular decline of the industrial sector, the manufacturing sector. The manufacturing sector used to constitute about 1/3 of jobs in the private sector within establishments in the private sector, and now it only constitutes about 1/5 of jobs in the private sector. And that decline in manufacturing jobs is across regions, but particularly concentrated in the north of Egypt and in the Suez Canal area. And it also reflects a decline across many industries and not just a few industries. Now, this has many reasons that were discussed today, including the difficulties in exporting, the difficulties in obtaining subsidies for export, the difficulty of accessing land for industrial plants, energy pricing and instability of energy pricing. A number of issues were raised explaining why the manufacturing sector is not doing so well. And it's an area that requires a great deal of coordination, central coordination, and reforms of policies in order to revive that sector. The third area is we looked at the 10 industries that have contributed the most in terms of job creation. And the reality is that these industries tend to be primarily in the retail and distribution sectors and in the small-scale personal services, areas that have been growing fast in the Egyptian economy, but generally tend to be areas that provide less formal jobs and less productive jobs. And we need to switch the engine of growth in the Egyptian economy to somewhat more productive areas like ICT, information and communication technologies, like agribusiness and agricultural processing, agro-processing, like more manufacturing, and be more competitive within global value chains and more competitive internationally in general. And today the discussion ranged very broadly around what sort of policies are necessary to achieve this. Thank you.